Good evening, hello and welcome. You are watching the special edition of the News Hour. My name is Pranesh Kumar Roy and we are starting with a big news break. Times now, news break stands confirmed. Bharat Biotech's vaccine for kids has got a nod from the Drugs Controller General of India. Bharat Biotech gets the DGCI approval for vaccine for kids aged between 12 and 18 years of age. This will be a 2-dose vaccine and the 2 doses will be 28 days apart. 2 doses to be given 28 days apart. The emergency use approval has come from the Drugs Controller General of India. This is a huge boost in fight against COVID, viewers, because at a time when state governments are falling back on curbs and the states are showing spike in COVID cases, this is a massive development. DGCI not to co-vaccine for children above 12 years of age. Emergency use approval for kids. Emergency use approval will mean that the government can now ensure all the formalities and roll it out. That's the big challenge. Karishma now joining us for more on this. Top doctors will be joining us shortly to put this in context, what this means. Karishma, big information coming our way. Massive boost in fight against COVID because Bharat Biotech had been conducting trials and now the Drugs Controller General of India has granted the emergency use approval to co-vaccine for kids aged above 12 years of age.
Well, it's absolutely, Pranesh. This is a huge boost for India's fight against COVID-19, the largest vaccination program that is going on in the world. And now the emergency use approval for children's vaccine in India is a huge moment. It is going to be for children between 12 to 18 years. The emergency use approval had been stuck for months, but now Bharat Biotech's co-vaccine getting the approval from the DGCI for children's vaccine in India for children between the age of 12 to 18 years. So one step ahead now after vaccinating 60% of the population of the eligible population of the country. Now a move to vaccinate the kids as well. 12 to 18 years of age is what we are given to understand that co-vaccine emergency use approval has been.
That's right. Amid rising Omicron fears across the globe, doctors and experts have observed the rise of COVID-19 cases among children in certain countries that had triggered concerns, and the question that when will vaccination for children rather start in India. And here we have some good news. On Christmas, the DGCI, the Drug Controller General of India, has given its go-ahead to Bharat Biotech's co-vaccine. So jab for kids between 12 to 18 is now a reality. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai is joining us. Good evening, Dr. Bagai. Big news, huge development in fight against COVID.
I think this is a very important and a critical step. Children have a cohort population of approximately 45% or 138 crores. That's about 50 crores of Indian population. Now, this would also become an eligible population to get vaccinated. As I mentioned earlier, children carry the same viral load. They transmit as much as adults, and they have long-term serious side effects even with asymptomatic disease or mild disease or polysymptomatic disease. So without knowing, a child can actually transmit this infection and indeed get infected himself or herself. 49% of children are asymptomatic disease. They are a prime cause of this disease in household infections, almost up to 20 to 30%. So I think this is very important. The vaccines have shown to have a very good, robust response of B-cell and T-cell immunity in children. And this is a very critical decision which the government has taken. Full credit to them. And now we should push on all cylinders, accelerated vaccine drive for children.
Accelerated vaccine drive, and that's going to be the next challenge. Dr. DK Gupta of Felix Hospital also joining us. Dr. Gupta, good evening. Like we were discussing, that the emergency use approval has come. The next big challenge is the actual rollout?
Yes, I have already told you that the approval for Titus COP-D has been given around 3 months back. And that approval has been given by the subject expert committee, by the DCGI, by the CDSCO, and the vaccine has to be rolled out immediately or within 2 weeks after the approval. But it has been delayed. There were few discussions going on between the government and the manufacturer that regarding the rate negotiations, also around the logistics for the inoculation of the vaccine. So I think this is the need of the hour that vaccine should be immediately rolled out in the market, because we will not inoculate children immediately. It will take at least 3 to 4 months to inoculate 60 to 60% of the children, because there should be a minimum gap of around 4 to 6 weeks between the two doses, at least 4 weeks, 28 days. And the initial immunization has to be started as early as possible, because it is, if we are delaying, that it means we are exposing our children to third wave, and that is most probably will be in the January mid or February first week. Before that, at least we should aim at least 60 to 70% of children should get first vaccine of our Titus COP-D or Covaxin that has been approved for 2 to 18 years also.
Okay. Now, the other important aspect, and Dr. Bagai, I want you to explain this to our viewers. Please break this down. That report suggests that this will have to be a half-filled syringe.
Yeah, so vaccines come in various modes. As far as an injectable vaccine is concerned, Pranesh, it can come as a multi-dose vial, which is generally a 5 ml or a 10 ml vial, in which you can have either 10 doses or 20 doses. But this is a pre-filled syringe. So a pre-filled syringe gives you more accuracy in terms of the volume of medicine given. It is more convenient that you don't have to load and reload different syringes. It's also a more prime concern from pediatric, from cross-infection and hygiene point of view, that every time a syringe is used, it is thrown. The vial, as far as the rubber case, is not punctured again and again. So it gives a better protection to children. So it is extremely good. It can easily be stored. And a small dose of 0.5 ml doesn't occupy much space. This can be stored at routine refrigeration temperatures between 2 and 8 degrees. And like I mentioned, the children have had practically no side effects from these vaccines which have been tried worldwide.
Now, Dr. Gupta, as someone, your hospital has been at the forefront of rolling out vaccine. What do you think will be the major challenges before we roll it out, before the vaccine is actually available for kids for kids?
There will not be any major challenge. There will be only a political will or any government order to roll out the guidelines for the inoculation of the children. These has to be issued to the private and public sector both. And we already told you that we are inoculating our children for more than 70 years through universal immunization program. That is one of the largest programs in the world. And there are so many pediatricians, the clinics and the hospitals in India, and even the Anganwadi workers, even the ANMs, ASA workers, they are helping in the vaccination program in door-to-door campaign also. So I should suggest the government should be more proactive. They should go one step ahead. At least they should start door-to-door vaccinations like we are doing for other DPT, BCG, and hepatitis vaccines. We are doing the same policy. If we want to inoculate children as early as possible, if we want to protect our children as early as possible, I think the rollout is very important. Orders and the clear guidelines is very important, and the pricing is very important, and also the clarity regarding the availability of vaccine in the public sector and the private sector. That is the main challenge will be there. Otherwise, there is no major challenge at all.
Now, Dr. Bagai, one quick question. The government so far, and correct me if I am wrong here, hasn't released any data on the mortality of children due to COVID-19 in both the first and the second wave.
Yeah, so at the present moment, there is no clarity as far as the Indian scenario is concerned. But internationally, of course, the data is very much available. The CDC and American Pediatric Association have already put it out in public domain that the total number of pediatric patients infected at the beginning of the pandemic was 9%. It rose to about 20%, and now 25% of the total load of the population of positive COVID cases is in children below the age of 18. Initially, the mortality rate was 0.1%. It's actually doubled now in many places. In fact, Omicron per se, specifically, has increased the rate 6-fold in children. obviously because of the peculiarity of its genetic code. Children are being more infected, and also because children so far have been completely unvaccinated. So I think it's a great move. It's a very important step. We have a large number, almost 1.5 lakh pediatricians all over India. The government should use the facilities of every pediatrician. We've been giving vaccines to children for decades now, and hundreds of children every day. This is where we need to utilize every resource, all hands on deck to push this forward.
And Dr. Krishna Chugh also joining us, Principal Director and HOD Pediatrics, Fortis Memorial Research Institute in Gurugram. Dr. Chugh, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Times Now, sir. What do you make of this?
Well, this is wonderful news. We have all been waiting for it for a long time now. But I'm sure authorities had their good reason to convince themselves first that the vaccine is efficacious in children and is absolutely safe. The vaccine that they want to say yes to. So now that they have satisfied themselves, I'm sure it is there, will be available very soon to all our children, and I'm sure it will benefit them in many ways, including their going back to school, meeting each other, interacting with each other, and which is probably the most important aspect of their development in early age groups.
And this will have ramifications. You just mentioned one point. This will mean that the kids can go back to schools. Dr. Bagai, what do you think are the other implications, ramifications?
I think the good aspects of the pediatric vaccination is that there will be lesser amount of fear in the parents' mind to send the children to school. The transmission within the schools will rapidly diminish. The transmission in households will dramatically diminish. The kids will be able to go back to sports, especially contact sports and group and field sports. And apart from that, a single dose can stop spread of disease as far as severe disease and death by almost 93%. And once you get it in a 28-day gap and 15 days hence after the second dose, your rate of having severe infection and death is reduced up to 98.8%. So you are getting an extremely good protection from severe disease and mortality. You are getting protection from transmitting in schools and households. Kids overall psychologically will be a lot more comfortable to get back to the life. The mental health with regards to the kids will vastly improve once they start interacting, because children are children. They have to go back to schools at some point of time without having fear of being infected or indeed carrying it as a harbor of infection to transmit it further.
And Dr. Gupta, Adar Poonawalla, if I'm not wrong, had said just a few days ago that his company is also making a vaccine for kids, and it will be COVID shot for kids above 3 years, if I'm not wrong with the number, will be ready in the next 5 to 6 months. So more good news awaited.
Yes, you are totally right. I totally agree with you that we have also heard from the Serum Institute of India that they are preparing for kids also, and the vaccine is under phase 3 trial, and most probably they will submit the data within 3 or 4 months, and vaccine will be available in the market in coming 6 months only. And the vaccine will be available for more than 3 years of the children. Even the co-vaccine is will be available for more than 2 years of children soon. So these, I think, are promising results. Even like before that, when Pfizer and Moderna, they have provided vaccine for 12 to 18 years of age in the Western countries, and there are so many other companies like Sputnik, Johnson & Johnson, Sandbag, Novavax, even there are so other, like there are more than 12 vaccines that has been given authorized approval for the emergency use in adults. They are all mostly doing their like clinical trials on the children, and most probably across the globe we will have several vaccines, good vaccines for the children also. And currently, whatever we have, that is the best vaccine available, like Zydus-CoV-D, the Bharat Biotech, there will be both good vaccines. And we know that Bharat Biotech is one of the largest vaccine manufacturer in India and in globe also, and they're supplying adult vaccine to more than 100 countries right now.
Absolutely. And let me take that across to Dr. Trehan, who's joining us. Needs no introduction, sir. Good evening. Thanks for speaking to Times Now, sir. Your first thoughts on what do you make of this development?
Could get, because we have been extremely worried about the children being unprotected, and that's why it is important that this whole thing has happened, and that we should be able to now give that protection to children so that they can go back to school. And also, for 2 years, they've been isolated. And when you're isolated, there are many things. One, you're suffering in your education. Two, you're actually glued to the screen of your video on video education, and that by itself is a psychological trauma. And the other is that you have no human interaction. So all these things are very, very important for a human development at that stage. So I think that this will be a big relief to children and also to parents that the safety level will go up. And it's been proven that vaccine does protect you. Even if you get infected after getting fully vaccinated, then it is very mild. That's the general data that's coming out around the world. So I think that this is a very welcome news today.
Dr. Trehan, allow me to ask you this. While this is a welcome move, there's, so much has been said and written about the third dose, the booster dose. Your thoughts on that, sir?
So if you look at the data from around the world, there are two types of immunity a human being gets. One is if you got infection or got exposed, that is natural immunity. Then you get it from vaccine immunity. And there are two ways of measuring immunity. One is the antibody response, and the other is cellular, which is not easy to actually measure, so we don't know. But we know that biologically that the body develops cellular immunity. So now that we are measuring if you look at the data, that 6 months on, the antibody response that a person gets from vaccine, 2 doses of vaccine, it starts reducing or what we call waning. Now, in that case, that the measurable immunity is going down. And that's why the world has started the booster dose. If you say in America, in Europe, and in Israel and countries like that, where there is already enough vaccine available. Now, one problem in India is that there is a large population still which has to receive its second dose, so that's one. And the other is the fact that, yes, there is need for boosting, especially starting off with the healthcare workers and the frontline workers. Because if this third wave becomes bad and the healthcare workers get affected, there is already shortage of healthcare workers, then it'll be difficult to take care of patients who may get infected. So that's why I think the first protection, as soon as vaccine is available, should be given to the frontline workers and healthcare workers, and they should get the booster right away. Then, of course, we can, as we move forward, we can use it for elderly and the more vulnerable people and so on and so forth. But immediately, if we can get the vaccine doses, the frontline workers and the healthcare workers should be vaccinated. There's no question about that in my mind.
Okay, Dr. Trehan, my final question, sir, before I let you go. Now, while we are all very happy with the development, but what's causing the delay, sir? Because Zycov-D had also been approved, but the rollout seems to be a problem.
You see, it's very important that the regulator and the scientific committee looks at the data very carefully. Actually, unless they are convinced that it has gone through the rigors of scientific evaluation, it's not approved. Even now, you see it's approved for emergency use in the sense that this is the first time that vaccine is developed in such a short time. So it has to be cautious. I think it's important that, yes, we have been waiting for the vaccine for children for a long time, and we wish it would be earlier. But the point is that the regulator has to be totally convinced that it's safe for them. And now that this whole evaluation of the data is done and the studies have been actually analyzed properly, I think it's good time that it has happened, and it'll be a big relief to children, parents, and overall to the scientific community.
Thank you, Dr. Trehan, for speaking to us and for putting that in perspective. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Dr. Gilada also joining a broadcast. Sir, good evening. Just last week we were discussing about this, the need for a booster and vaccine for kids. Here we are one step closer to it.
Yeah, we are actually two pediatricians sitting here. They will be more happier than me. But there cannot be any better time than this when we are expecting a Omicron wave, which is likely to be much larger than the previous wave. and a pediatric population, which is almost 40% of population, is not yet vaccinated. And despite the ICOD being approved 3 months back, it is not yet rollout. So I think this is a good decision, and this was expected because when Prime Minister had a meeting 2 days before, it was expected that some large decision will be taken, and we are really very happy.
Really happy. We are all welcoming this. We are all very elated with the development. But Dr. Bagai, I want to bring you in again on the rollout. And you heard Dr. Trehan talking about that challenge.
Yeah, there are a couple of important points here. I think immunizing children would need a little bit more specialized care and handling versus immunizing adults. We have a large segment of the pediatric population through Indian Association of Pediatrics in almost every nook and corner of India. We have about 1.5 lakh qualified pediatricians. Vast majority of them, 70-80% of the pediatricians, have their own private clinic and spaces in which we've been using vaccines for the last 3 or 4 decades or more. And hundreds of children have been vaccinated on a daily basis. So I think we should utilize the services of all pediatric centers. We should make it available to them. Yes, the data capture is important and the precautions during vaccines are important, but there is no better people to give the vaccines than pediatricians themselves. And the second important point is that we have to enroll this and inculcate this vaccine as a part of our annual immunization program, at least for the next couple of years. It's hard to say for how many years, but for the next couple of years. This can be co-administered with most other vaccines because this is a killed or inactivated vaccine in which position, either on the upper part of the thigh or on the arm, depending upon the age of the child, and what kind of monitoring is required post-vaccination. So I think very strongly the pediatric workforce task force should give a huge help in spreading this immunization. Children have shown an excellent immune response with practically no side effects.
Okay, Dr. Bagai, just hold your thoughts. Dr. Jayalal, IMA President, also with us. Sir, good evening. Your first thoughts on this, sir?
Yeah, good evening. We wholeheartedly welcome this initiative. We were expecting quite much earlier on this. This is at least an appropriate time as we are talking about the human bills, and the schools are open, children are moving out, and we need to have some protection for them. So all scientific evidence proves that the vaccine for the child is definitely of good immune response, and it is safe. It is co-administered with other vaccines, and its side effect is nil. And definitely, but this needs a lot of care. When we are administering the dose, the government needs to work along with the pediatrics, and we cannot work only with the healthcare workers. And I appeal to the government, the public-private partners should be ensured this year. They should use the support very effectively to make sure we are able to report all the things.
That's an important point, Dr. Jayalal, that you're making. And while I'm talking to you, sir, I have on the panel Dr. Ishwar Gilada, Dr. Krishna Chuk, Dr. DK Gupta, and Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. And we've been discussing about the problems with the rollout.
Definitely, it is unless they are having a robust interaction with the practitioners and the family practitioners, then generally it will be of effect. Otherwise, if there is a small area, if a small child gets other problems, because the monitoring the child is very, very important. Because the media is very active, even a small reaction can be exploited in a different way in a society. So it must be done in a proper care. When the vaccine was told at first, all of us doctors came out, we took the vaccine, we showed to them that it is safe. And similarly, sometimes the proactive leadership along the associations and must be done so that we be able to make no pitfalls are happening with that. But we will do that because our infrastructure is very good. Definitely, we will be able to reach out to them.
Dr. Jayalal, just stay with us, sir. Dr. Gilada, I think, wants to make a point.
You see, since beginning, we made one major mistake. There are 12,50,000 MBBS doctors, and there are almost 5 lakh postgraduate doctors. So we have 17 lakh plus doctors. If the doctors were roped in since the beginning, vaccination could have been very easy. Particularly, there are 20,000 pediatricians, and they are all used to pediatric vaccination. Initially, vaccination was only for children. Now, for the first time, we realize that there is an adult vaccination. So we are not involving pediatrician. Then we are creating a parallel force Then you are showing them how to fill up a syringe, how to take out the air bubble, how to give vaccine, where to give. I think too much of a pain.
And this is only adding to the delay. That's a good point. Dr. Gupta also raising his hand. Yes, sir, quickly.
Don't bring politics and politicians. Involve doctors, pediatrician. It will be very easy.
Absolutely. Dr. Gupta.
I would like to take that a vaccine very safe, very stable, and it can be given by any trained healthcare worker that is authorized to give injections, like A&M or nurse or nursing staff or doctor or resident doctor. Anybody can give. They need just little training regarding this vaccine. Otherwise, vaccine is safe, because most of our A&Ms or nursing staff, they are providing vaccination in door-to-door campaigns through Universal Immunization Program for last 30, 70 years. And the vaccine like BCG, MMR,
right,
and like measles, these vaccines, those are live vaccines. They are very sensitive vaccines. Even they have serious side effects can be there with them. These vaccine has been given across the India in different villages, rural areas. It means there is no challenge regarding the logistics, regarding the manpower, regarding the equipment. Everybody knows how to give a pre-filled syringe. It is easy to give.
Absolutely.
Also.
When we have assets, why not use it? And we'll discuss about it. We'll have to take a short break. I request all of you, please stay on with us. A short break, and we return to this on Times Now.